Okay, HollyShorts interview number three. Super excited. Another great film, Sense of Emergency. I am so excited to talk about this. I have Madeline with me here today. So I have a bunch of questions to ask you. Usually, my first question is the most important or most sarcastic, depending on how you want to look at it. So I want to know why Ricky wasn't in the movie.
It's a great question. I mean, I'm holding my most valuable asset until I can unleash him on the I don't think the world is ready for Ricky.
I was gonna, he's so cute.
Ricky is too amazing. He's literally a
Yes.
little miniature Shetland pony mixed with a Highland cow. How can I let the world see him yet? I don't know.
It's just I was reading this and thinking to myself, it's very common for filmmakers to put like their partners in. Sometimes their pets, their kids, stuff like that. And I'm like, there's no way in the world that she's not going to do a project and put that dog in there. I'm like, it's just you have to do something with
No,
him.
he's a diva. I'm not sure I can afford him. I don't
Okay.
think, I don't think I've got the budget for him yet. So
Aha. So better question. I know you were married in March of 2024. Partner's not, was the partner involved with production, the film in any way, etc.?
no, no, she is not a film gal. So it's kind of great because we do our own thing.
Okay.
But she of course was like supportive. She actually brought
Oh,
Ricky to set, obviously.
aw.
Good like mental health break. But
Oh, I
no,
imagine.
she's super supportive, but honestly, it's like my greatest thing in life trying to get her to like watch TV and films with me. So you know how that goes.
Really?
Have a partner that like is on the complete other end of the spectrum.
Oh, I bet. Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
What does she do for a living? Her occupation?
She works in sports, so
Oh,
she works specifically in women's sports.
nice. Very nice. So it is a nice balance. I think oftentimes opposites really attract when it comes to this is my thing, this is your thing kind of thing. But yeah, maybe she'll end up in a movie if you continue doing all this wonderful stuff. Never
I
know.
I highly doubt it.
Okay, she's just putting the X on
I
that.
think
Like,
she would
that's
be
a
like
hard no.
absolutely not.
No. Okay. I guess we're not even going to do that anymore. Okay. So I know that I covered your last film and I want to talk about it again because it's so magnificent. Desmond's not here anymore. Love,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
love,
yeah.
love that film. So A, tell everybody about it again. And second of all, is it visible now to where everybody can see it?
That's a great question. I worked on that film, I think it was now 4 years ago. I was the
Yeah.
first lead. And that was a great opportunity. It was filmed up in the Northwest. I met a bunch of incredible people that I still work with, which is great.
Yeah.
I wasn't a producer or, on that team, so I'm not really 100% sure where it lives, as
Ah, okay.
one never knows, when you're kind of a part of the crew and then you don't know where it kind of ended up. I know it did a full festival run and
Yeah.
all that jazz. But I don't know where it finally ended.
I getcha. So I'll have to find out for you folks and I'll post it. Very powerful, extremely well cast, really, really poignant story. People need to watch that. It's a testament to the type of work that you do, obviously, because it's great. Um, so I want to talk a bit about the relationship with your parents. I know that you're very close to your parents. And so I want to speak to you a bit about their influence and inspiration. How has that bled over to your professional life?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I just feel incredibly lucky. I've got a fantastic family, like and parent group. I feel, like I really won the lottery being born to my parents. I adore them as human beings. They are some of my best friends as an adult. And growing up, they were the first people to believe in me. And, my dad always used to say I would be the leader of the free world someday. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. That's just like so sweet when you have that support.
Sure.
On top of that, I would say like both of them are just super cool and funny and have really inspired my style as a filmmaker and how I am compelled to stories.
Yeah.
I spent a long time obviously in the sports world, and in the sports space. And I think in that sense and in the documentary filmmaking, a lot of what I do is inspired by my narrative tastes. And so
Okay.
obviously that's shaped in the home when you're growing up. And I had this incredible balance of like, of course, my dad and I would love action films and I would watch any action. He also loves a good artsy film, which is super fun. And then on the other end of the spectrum is, my mom showing me Austin Powers and Something About Mary and all these things that like really have informed my humor. So
Okay.
from a close standpoint, like I'm very close to my family. I adore my parents, my sister. I'm really lucky.
Oh, very, very nice. I like that. I also know that you weren't always where you are right now. Like you had mentioned, you formerly 7 years Seattle Seahawks. I am not a Seattle fan. I'm really not a football fan. However, it begs to ask the question because most of the world is, and it's a phenomenon, the whole football thing. So being on the other side of the fence, tell me something about the football industry or even the Seahawks in general, something very non-football like. I'm always intrigued about. There's a story there somewhat. So, is there something about football we should know that we don't already know?
Oh my gosh, that's such a wide open question.
I know, I know. I was like, just a little something. Because you've got the other side of the fence. Most of us that don't even
Yeah.
meet a Seattle Seahawk, let alone a football player, right? And here you are working for them for 7 years.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing I always tell people, I guess I'd go with like the scouting profession in that world.
Hmm.
There's a lot of like mystique and intrigue about working for a team, you know.
Sure.
There is a lot of sexy things about it. Like you get to travel on a charter and you get fed really well and you
Well,
know, there is like very fancy fun things about it.
okay.
But the thing I always like people to understand is like it is such a grind for those people who,
I
you
bet.
know, think of the general managers and the scouts and the coaches and the through line of all those people that get to that point. I mean, the equipment staff, the nutritionists, they're the best in the world at what they do and they work so hard. Like they have to have the combination of both. So I think for me, what I loved about it is the osmosis of being by people who were
Oh,
best at what they did, but then
sure.
also worked really, really hard. And that alchemy is really impressive to watch day in and day out. So that would probably be the thing, like people don't really get that as much. I think they think it's even I mean, like people don't even understand the sport of football. It is such a grind for the players. Like they
Yeah,
spent maybe an hour or two on the field a day, but they're getting there at 5 a.m. to start study, to start, you
right.
know, like training and lifting and on all these things. And it's year round and it's an incredible sport.
Wild. Well, and moreover, on the journalist side, let me just say, it's a pain to try to get an interview. Like I've had people say, "Oh, you should interview a football player." I don't, is there a trick or something? Because I'm here to tell you, it's a real pain to try to get to them. I'm like,
They're
do
also
they do that on
tired.
purpose or something?
Oh my gosh. No, I swear it's literally because they're exhausted. Like even internally working for the team, it would be like, can we get like 5 minutes after practice? Or you know what
Right.
I mean? It's just like
Sure.
there's so much going on and they're so in demand all the time that like I remember I watched that, I think I can't remember who it was, maybe Blake Griffin. He was talking about doing a press conference at the end of
Yeah.
his games. And he was on one of the top late night talk shows and he was like, imagine if you just sprinted for an hour straight and then you walked right off, got off, and everyone was asking you questions. Like, how do you think you would handle that?
Ooh, that's rough.
Yeah,
Now I get it. I'd be
yeah,
like, hell no. Thank you
yeah,
so much, but leave me alone. Okay. Now that
exactly.
makes sense there. But there is this thing called off season. So I was thinking about that. I'm like, there's got to be an off season time where people are checked out for
And
a while,
but
right?
those are like the NFL especially has done what they would say a very good job of like reducing the off season. That was something that we used to get all the time. Was like,
Yeah.
oh well, what do you do during the off season? Do you work? And we're like, yeah, we work a regular full-time job during the off season. Like we maybe have weekends in the off season. So I think like from that standpoint, players in particular probably get like 2 or 3 weeks where they are like, oh, I'm here or I'm somewhere else or I can totally relax. But then
Got it.
I mean, it's mini camps, it's OTAs, it's all the things starting back up again. It's a long season these days.
God, I'm starting to feel bad for them. I'm not gonna lie.
I know it's stressing
Listening
me
to
out to
this.
talk about it.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Okay, well, enough on the Seahawk train there. One of your other careers, which I think is really interesting, and I'd like to consider myself intelligent, but I saw the words peer and coach, and all I'm like is,
Oh my
say
gosh,
what, huh? What? So, what
that's a deep
exactly
dive.
is a
Yeah.
peer coach?
Oh my gosh, that was a college part-time job where I helped people fix their resumes, which
Ah,
really in the time of AI is probably so gone.
yeah,
Like,
I figured that.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah. No, it
got
was like a part-time come in and I'll tell you that your format is off or you have a typo.
got it. Okay, now it makes sense because I'm like, it's kind of like when people say life coach. I'm like, I kind of get it, but like, what does that really mean, sort of thing. So I'm like, thank you for clarifying that. And she's got this little word on her resume where it says Emmy and winner. And it doesn't say once an Emmy and winner. It says multiple Emmy and winner. A, how do I get there? B, how does that feel? And C, moreover, I think a lot of us work in this industry where we think to ourselves, yes, awards do matter. But at the end of the day, is it the most substantial thing in terms of, yes, are you really, really wanting tons and tons of accolades, or is it solely about the art? Because a lot of folks are right in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the award piece, when it means the most, is when it's validation for my group. So
Yeah.
I would say there was one in particular. We created a docu-series while I was still at the Seahawks called The Season of Boom, and it was a 10-part series about the Super Bowl winning team. And that Emmy win, we were all on, our whole crew, my entire department at the time.
Okay.
And I don't typically, I would say, like, the way I would answer this is I don't typically sit there and like really, really want it. You know what I mean? It's like incredible to be there.
So,
It's dressing up with everyone and taking photos. Same thing with film festivals. It's so nice to meet everybody else that's there and kind of be in this exclusive club of like, hey, we all got to be here together. And someone said that all of our
sure.
work has a certain standard and a certain polish to that. Like that really excites me. But I would say like from the actual winning standpoint, it matters the most to me when it's a project that I'm like, oh, this is gonna really matter to all of us. And I would
Mm,
say that Emmy win doing it because we just all grinded so hard and we did it together, that meant a lot. So I would say like I'm not really on the side of like awards don't matter because I do think they matter from like a community standpoint, to be totally honest with you. And
I get it.
they help open doors. Like let's be honest. Like people pay attention when you have certain things attached to your name or on your resume. So yeah, who wouldn't love a good award for that reason? But
Oh,
I would
yeah.
say it's not the only reason I do it. I think like everybody, like I'm addicted to the process of production more than anything and the community of it. So if that can be rewarded, great. Love that.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Yeah, I always keep saying that to myself. Like, yeah, I used to want to get an Oscar, and I'm like, yeah, I know how that works. That's not happening. And then I'm like, yeah, maybe I should get this. I'm slowly starting to learn that the impact that we have collectively on lives, that's a biggie right there. Like the impact and the impression that you leave on other people, that's a big thing. But I'm super jealous in the best way possible because go girl, that's awesome, substantial. Um, I want to talk a bit about Studio 89. Please tell me a bit about what you do there.
Yeah, so we are a kind of mixed production company where we take on film projects that have a little bit what I like to call like a longer tail. So as we all know, whether it's short or narrative, film or television, documentary, those are the kind of projects that take a lot of work on the front end. They might be a higher reward or a higher buy off in the long run, but it's
Yeah.
pretty common for projects to take years, not months. So
Ah,
that is one of our, I would say, like tentpole production company goals is to continue with our documentary and our series work and narrative and all that jazz, and
okay.
then supporting that in the Seattle space as well. But on the flip side, we are also, I would say, like a full service marketing and production company in the sense
Yeah.
that we do a ton of brand work, we do a ton of commercial work, we help a lot of nonprofits in the area tell their stories. And we also offer like full marketing services capability as well. So it really is like you need help telling your story. We are here for you and we can figure that out. And we're supported by just this incredible network of creatives that I have in my back pocket, I get to work with every day. And that makes the work really sing and really great. So we're just a little over a year old and working a ton, which is amazing. It's a
Yeah.
problem to have. And we're like slowly scaling up, which is fantastic too. But in the long run, I want Studio 89 to really support the Pacific Northwest film scene in a sense that not only are we creating and we're maintaining the work up there and getting work up there, but we're also creating it. And, a part of our model is setting aside percentage of our revenue to support projects. So as we get more going on, even on the brand and marketing, all that side, we want to set up a fund that also supports other people in the area who are wanting to create, specifically if it's people who aren't typically behind the camera or want to be
Yeah.
in a different role than normal. I'm really passionate about having sets where at least a quarter of the set is a first time filmmaker, because I think that's where a lot of access comes, um,
Nice.
and a lot of diversity comes through that,
Yeah.
because we find that like if you don't get a job, you won't get a job. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So like that's a big mission of ours. And I'm working towards it. Just a baby, we're a year old. But
Just a baby.
my partner, Doug Baldwin, and I are very passionate about opportunity and creating spaces and community for everybody. So I just
That's
want to do
absolutely
it.
awesome.
Yeah.
I like that. Now, on the marketing side, because of course, sadly, film is a business. We all want to say, yes, this is art, but it is a business as well. What I find is a lot of people I speak to who have marketing components within their business arms. Sometimes, if I were to ask you, does that mean you market people better than yourself, or are you equal to the task on that one?
I would say I'm learning to talk about myself. That's probably the best answer. Like, I think from a marketing standpoint and a brand standpoint, um, I'm trained obviously in the storytelling of others
Yes.
and the branding of others. So I'm trying to learn to kind of like put myself up front, because candidly, like I've spent my entire career making sure I am not visible, right? That's kind of the role of
Yes.
the director, the producer, the person behind the camera. I used to tell my family when they'd watch football games, Seahawks games, they're like, "Oh, we're watching for you," and I'd say, "If you see me, something is very wrong." Like something has gone terribly wrong. So I'm very used to being the Oz behind the curtain. So it's been a lesson for me to step out and find ways to sure market myself, but it's more of figuring out what feels authentic to me in that and not shying away from it.
Got it. That makes perfect sense. Yeah, it was worth asking because I'm like, yeah, sometimes can market, looking at other people's projects, you're less emotional about it, you're less attached to it. It's just easier
For
in
sure.
some regards. So I'm like, okay.
I
So
feel good
since
talking about my projects. It's just me I struggle with sometimes, but I'm getting better.
you just need to be in front of the camera like 17 more times and then you'll
That's
start
right.
feeling more
So
comfortable.
numb. Yeah.
So, Sense of Emergency, you had your world premiere at HollyShorts, this beautiful 9-minute film. I realize, of course, and it's been stated publicly, your mom, of course, being the inspiration because she had this incident that occurred, which required a first responder or multiple first responders to help, which is the catalyst to this. So, the number one biggest question, first off, is how is mom now?
Yeah, mom is great. We're so lucky. I mean, that's just like my takeaway from the entire situation. It's 2% chance of survival. And not
Yeah.
only that, because it's a 2% chance of survival, the tail end of that is there's not a lot of science and a lot of research about
Yeah.
survivors of cardiac arrest. So, we had about a year and a half of just like trying to figure things out and figure out what was going on with her heart, candidly, and like what could be fixed, what
Hmm.
couldn't, what was the cause, what wasn't. So yeah, she ended up having surgery this past February, and so far, like knock on wood, it seems like we have found a pretty good cause for what caused it. On the flip side as well, because of what happened to her, my sister and I have been able to get tests and get up to speed on our own heart health, which I feel very lucky
Nice.
about.
Okay.
Because it's just, it's important to know what you've got going on. Heart health is one of the four horsemen, as they say. So
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
I'm very big on just like knowing and adjusting and trying to make sure that I'm living my life and watching stuff and staying healthy. So yeah, I mean, overwhelming sense of gratitude for everybody obviously involved, which is why this film was created, but also just that my mom is doing better and she's back to her fiery spitball self. She was texting me last night. She was like, "Where are my photos?" I was like, "I know. I'm trying to get photos."
It's a
Um,
lot.
was really expecting more photos today. I was like, yes, they're coming. So she's back to being my manager. And
Aw.
that's the best spot for her. So I love it.
Well, and I imagine, of course, in this instance, this is personal to you, but it's also personal to her because it's in part because of what happened to her. So, is there any part of her that had any kind of reluctance, or, sometimes we talk about trauma, the fact that reliving something or having to think about something again, was that difficult for her?
I think so. I mean, I think my my mom is such a caretaker where when
Yeah.
I first wrote this, I knew she'd say yes no matter what I wrote, you know what I mean? Because it's me and she would do anything. I know that. So when I sent it to her, I was like, "Hey, I need you to really think about if you're like okay with this, like truly okay with this.
Yeah. Oh,
Don't just
sure.
say don't just say yes because it's something that, like I wanted to do or it's my career or whatever." So she sat with it a while and we talked about it, and I feel really lucky. I'm pretty close with my mom where I feel she could tell me if something was not, you know, kosher, so to speak, with the
Sure.
story or if she want to do it. And then ultimately too, she's actually in the film. And I had
Yes.
her in that last scene. And that was very much like couple weeks leading up, I'd asked her and I'd been like, it's totally up to you. It's your comfortability. She went back and forth a little bit on it. Same with my sister. She's in the film as well at that last scene. And I was ready to have literally anyone else there and totally fine with it. But at the same time, and this is not to like talk about Austin Powers so much this interview, that's insane. But what I told her literally, I was like, if I was making a slapstick comedy, I'd want you in it. Like it's
Yeah.
not about that I want you to feel you're only in this and a part of this because this is your horrible thing that you had to go through.
Right.
I would love to have you there. I will also be fine if you don't want to do it. So it was very special. I think ultimately she was like, I could do this. She said it was going to be a little bit healing for her. The nice thing for me as a director was it really obviously impacted the emotions of the room and the performance for Luke, my actor on the day.
Sure.
So there was kind of a lot of magic going on with it, with the fact that she was able to do it and be a part of it, and she's super strong for it, and I really appreciate it.
Oh, so sweet. And moreover, you also had some first responders in there as extras as well. How cool is that? Because I'm curious. I'm like, totally never done this before. I know they're being themselves basically, but it's kind of like, was that awkward for them?
No, they were fantastic. And I think too, like we kind of threw them into it. I told them they'd be extras. We did a couple other things. I had them like
Okay.
walking out of the scene, and there was some stuff that I just cut or didn't use.
Sure.
And I think that really warmed them up to it. And then really that part that I have in the film, I just rolled on the camera as they were all just laughing with each other, and I didn't even call a take, nothing. I just started
Oh,
rolling as
nice.
they were chatting. And I think that's comes more from like my docu style background of just like take advantage of what is unfolding. And I was really happy that we had that because it felt really natural and really good, and I got to see their faces, which is fantastic. But yeah, they were great. In fact, one out of the firefighters, Jake, we were doing this take where it was MOS, so no sound, and he was supposed to come pass behind Luke, like pat his shoulder and then pass on. It was just kind of like a transition shot. And every single time he did it, Luke was reading a book and he would say a joke about the book, like some different joke every single line, every
Yep.
single take, to the point where I was running late then because it was so funny. We were just like, and back to one, go, Jake. It was incredible. So he was kind of a little star. He was like ready for his moment.
Look at that. How cool. Your story takes place in Fire Station 51, which is nice that you were able to use that. This focuses on Brian Voss being the main subject. Now, I can't be the only one to ask this. Maybe it's me, but I was like, so the person playing Brian isn't Brian. Isn't that interesting? So was there a reason for that?
Well, Brian is not an actor. That's the reason. So I would say, so Luke Barnett, who's playing Brian,
Yes.
is just such a fantastic actor. We got an
Yes.
opportunity to send him the script, and it was 2 weeks before his film Crossing Over Express went so incredibly viral on Twitter. His short film that he directed, that was
Okay.
about his mom. So it was kind of this alchemy moment where we sent him the script, and he was like, "I love it. I love stuff about moms. Obviously, a sweet spot for him." And then he signed on to the project, which was, fantastic for us because I knew about how incredible of an actor he was. And then his career has just taken off and blown up. So it's
Oh
been
yeah.
so exciting to watch. Like he's going to be in Dark Winds season 4 as a like main character, the AMC show. He's got
Oh
all this good stuff
gosh.
going on. He came in from Oklahoma last night for the screening where he was
Aw.
shooting a feature. Like, so he's been crushing it. I'm very excited. And he was so fantastic to work with. I mentioned this at the screening last night. I was the most apprehensive about working with an actor because that is where I have the least amount of experience. Where
Okay.
I was probably underselling it because I've told a lot of athletes what to do and they're like not actors. So
Well, sure.
I was used to knowing what I liked and what I needed in a short amount of time, but I just didn't have the language for actors. You know, I haven't acted, so I was really mindful of that. But Luke made it so easy and so comfortable for me to learn and figure it out, and then also gave such an incredible performance that I
Oh
was
yeah.
really fortunate, so
You
fortunate to have that.
You betcha. And the only reason I ask is just because to the folks that haven't seen it yet, a lot of this really is talking to Brian proverbially about his experiences and his life as a first responder. So one could say that a lot of it isn't acting. You know what I mean? I'm assuming these are his feelings and his experiences and things like that. One of the things that struck me, because most of us aren't first responders, so we don't realize this. The amount of trauma and burnout and sadness and fatigue and hopelessness that goes into being a first responder. It makes you appreciate them more and also see them in a very human, vulnerable sort of light. You know, because when they walk into our homes, you know, they always look so serious and they know what they're doing and they're like on top of everything, etc. Was Brian, did you ask him for feedback or how did you gain all this information about this? How did this process go about?
Yeah, so really this came from when my mom was in the ICU directly after the cardiac arrest. Brian was one of her first visitors, and in that, the first time he came by, it was just me in the room, because my dad and sister had swapped out, and he got very emotional, brought us the bear, and told,
Yeah.
me, and then subsequently a couple times after that, like how important it was that my mom survived for him, and how like for this career he's had, he's never had it's very rare for them to have someone with a cardiac arrest then walk out the hospital again. So she was very important to not only the first responders, but the nurses that were there, the doctors that were there, like everybody. She became kind of this like career moment for a lot of them.
Aw.
Obviously for first responders, but really struck me. And I think everyone in that sense, like the medical field as well, we kind of, I mean, at least me in the film world, I walk about my life and I've got a pretty regulated day. I know that I'm not going to be super impacted by my work personally and mentally. But they sign up to do that trauma every day. That's,
Oh yeah.
our worst day is their every day or whatever that saying is. So I just found it really interesting. I don't think we talk about it enough. And then what I was trying to do was really map on the experience of like if you're someone who is holding a lot of trauma and PTSD and you're kind of pushing it away all the time, you're much more likely to see it and comfort others that have it than you are to kind of look inward at yourself and be like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe I should do this. So I thought that was really prevalent in that career. Also, sorry, they've been like tearing up the street outside. I don't know if you can hear the construction, but
Not really. It's not too
okay,
terrible
good,
right now,
good,
so I think we're good.
good. Anyways, so then we got home, we were a couple months home and I just was thinking about this whole experience and I just couldn't get it out of my head. That feeling of like, no, we don't talk about that with first responders and that kind of PTSD
Yeah.
that they live in all the time. And so I wrote this and then I actually sent it to Brian as well as my mom. And I got Brian's permission and kind of chatted with him about it. And
Yeah.
my other research on it too is I joined, like the paramedic Reddit thread and I was in there for like
Oh, I
months
bet.
being like, okay, what are these people that, so some of that stuff, it wasn't then on Brian to be like, yeah, that's true or false or
Yeah.
whatever. But I really sent it to him from the standpoint of like, number one, are you okay with your world being like on a screen and you being kind of the person for this? And then number
Yeah.
two, is this accurate? Like, is this good? I don't know. So, but he was very gracious and helpful, and he's sent me so many nice messages about showing it to other paramedics and it really striking chords with them, which just I love when people see themselves in my work and when it feels real. I love real work. So that was such a huge compliment.
I bet. And what's also nice is that we get to see the other side. Like in his case, he happens to do the Renaissance Fair thing and he actually does drumming and has the family thing. So there is a nice balance that comes in there. It's not just one side or the other. I have some filmmaker questions relative to this. First off, I know that you had used the overhead rig before, and not a lot of sets do that. And so to your fellow filmmakers, I would say, can you speak on that? And the necessity, is it always a necessity? Was it just because of the theme of the film and you needed to use that to get that shot? How difficult or challenging was it to use something like that?
I would say because of my background, I have spent so much time camera operating, DPing, all that jazz. So it
Yeah,
really influences my style. So when I was selecting and really dreaming up what I wanted this to look like, it was a big goal of mine for it to look really, really good. And for me, that meant doing some things that I have always selfishly wanted to do from like a DP standpoint.
okay.
And I love that overhead shot. I always think it's dynamic. I pulled a lot of imagery from that, from other shows and all that jazz. And I was really stuck on this idea of it being a true overhead, not a fake, kind of like crawl
Right.
up or things like that.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I mean, I asked my gaffer, Derek Johnson, and my DP, Sarah, if they wanted to do it. And a big thing for me with this film, since it was an indie short, every single person I brought on, I was like, I'm going to ask you stuff, but I really want you to bring you to this. Like, if you want to do the overhead, let's do the overhead because like we're gonna need that extra oomph. Everyone's gonna have to believe in this film and make it feel like theirs. Obviously this film is mine. It's right on the billing that this is about me and my mom and all this stuff, but like
Yeah.
I really wanted everyone else on it to point at it and be like, that's mine, or this is mine, or this was my little piece of the pie, so to speak. So Sarah and I talked about it a lot, and she was totally gung ho. Sarah's incredible. It was our first time working together, and Derek, who was our gaffer, kind of grip swing with a grip help
Yeah.
team, was totally on board. He was like, "Let's do it." So they really worked themselves, kind of trying to figure out the way in that small room in the Airbnb we were in to rig it up and figure it
Yeah.
out, save. And then on our pre-light day, we kind of all worked through it together with our AC and tested it. And I have a lot of, great tests of all of us laying in the bed. It was like, oh no, we have to keep testing this overhead. But yeah, I just selfishly it was kind of one of those shots. Then I would say on the flip side, like Sarah, my DP, really wanted a beautiful car rig.
Yeah.
And so we brought out this like incredible car rigging system from another local grip. His name is Mike. He came and met us, built this entire car rig. We shot so much. And at one point I pulled her aside and I was like, Sarah, this might be 2 seconds in the film. I love, I love this. I'm all for you continuing on this journey for you, whatever you need from like your portfolio standpoint. But we will have to pack it up in about 30 minutes. I'm just letting you know that like we are gonna have to move on. So we all had little things that were like, I really want to do this, and that was important to me that we all had that. So the overhead was kind of one line on that.
Gotcha. I also note, and we talk a lot about this with filmmaking, every single one of us, I was so excited to see that the fire department, the Rochester Fire Department, held a fundraiser, in fact, with regard to helping to finance this film. So if you're speaking to one of your fellow creators outside of, not everybody gets a fundraiser. Most of us are GoFundMe's or grants or whatever have you, etc. How much of an impact did that fundraiser have in the overall in terms of making the film?
Yeah, so we did a Seed and Spark campaign, and then they surprised me with that physical fundraiser, which was incredible.
Mm.
It contributed to probably about, I would say, I'm gonna do the math really fast. It was probably about 15% of the budget
Nice.
came from the fundraiser. Which
Okay.
we had a small budget, but that's a huge impact. And candidly, it prevented me from putting in that 15%. Like, let's just be really honest. Like when we're doing these things,
Yeah.
a gap you have to fill. I still filled somewhat of a gap, but like it was way less because of that.
Yep.
Um, so, from that standpoint, I think I was very fortunate that this whole community was really impacted by this story and like felt seen by it. But truly, they organized it. Brian spearheaded it, that whole entire fire department, as if they haven't done enough for me. They were like, please, let's also give you money. Like that was so nice. But Midwest are nice. They're just like the nicest people.
Yes, we
But
are. I have to say that. Yes. Midwesterns are the bomb.
you guys are all very, very nice. So,
Thank you.
um, that was like such an incredible surprise, but it certainly wasn't something I expected. We were grinding on the seed and spark grind as people do, and really doing that for like 60 days and trying to get personal fundraising, all that stuff. But it was very,
Sure.
very helpful.
You betcha. On top of which, I see you had shirts made for the film. Now, are you still selling those, or is that just, what's the deal with that?
Yeah, so what I want to do, I made shirts for our little like private casting.
Yes, I saw that.
I made it for Brian and then myself and my co-producer Brad, just as like little fun gifts to have. And then everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, I want to buy a shirt," and I was like, "That's really nice," but I needed to go back to my artist who did the actual design of our poster, and I
Sure.
contacted her. She's over in the UK, and so we're trying to figure out making sure it makes sense for her from a licensing standpoint. So I just want to
I
make
get
sure
it.
if I do sell it largely, a portion of the sales go back to her. And I just candidly have to do the work of setting that up on the website.
I get it. No, I
So
understand.
it's hopefully coming. I do want to do some of that through Studio 89 and have like a fun, A24-esque model where we can sell merch from each thing that we do. Just
Ah,
because I think that's fun and it's a great way to give like back to the artists because Angel, who did this design for me, we met at a film festival last year, and she is so incredibly talented. We talked about this for like 6 months. We went back and forth. She sent me tons of sketches. It's all hand drawn. And of course, it's independent film. She did it at a rate that is mind-boggling for her
I bet.
artistry.
Hmm.
Um, so I could not, they're called Last Maps. I could not recommend them more. We were their first film design, which is insane because
Aw.
they're so talented. So I'm trying to get everybody to pay them full price for their film posters.
So cute. I love that. I do. I absolutely love the concept of anybody taking a film and running with it and saying we're having merchandise and we're doing it. That's amazing. Plus, it leaves an imprint. Not that the movie doesn't, but it's just another extension of it. So, for instance, in this case, for Sense of Emergency, this is basically my thought, not just as the critic, but as the person, because I've watched it more than once. And what I can say to me, Sense of Emergency isn't just the story of one man, it's the story of every responder out there who has ever touched another life or been torn by the loss of a life. It explores the relationships and the dynamics both at the job and outside of the job. And more importantly, it talks about their love of the job and love of the patients. But I am not the creator. So, in 2 sentences, can you tell them what is Sense of Emergency about to you?
First of all, Cindy, that was really nice.
Very
Uh,
true.
2 sentences.
Mhm. You can do it.
I would say sense of emergency is about recognizing people in professions that ask everything of them and giving them a little grace and love. Well, in the meantime, I'm hoping that people can, who even aren't in those professions, can map themselves into it and see, we all go through stuff. And sometimes just recognizing that you're hurting is enough.
Nicely done there. There we go. I like both answers, by the way. At this moment, of course, folks, we do not have a new screening date as of yet because I know that you're still within the film festival circuit and early on. So you guys will have to wait to see when Sense of Emergency will be playing in your area. I did want to ask about, I saw Digital Warfare was listed. Do we have a status on what's going on with that?
So I was a DP of that a couple years ago, and I think that did the film circuit a little bit. And
Okay.
Steph, who was the director, I think she might have it posted somewhere.
Okay.
But my other film is the documentary Downright Perfect, and that is on the
Yes.
festival circuit.
Okay.
That one was selected by Sidewalk in Alabama, in Birmingham. So that will be showing there in a couple weeks. I won't be able to go to that because I'm working, but um, I love that little documentary on Matthias. So I just wanted to shout
Okay.
that out. That family's,
Awesome.
yeah.
That's terrific. I don't want to forget to mention her name is Madeline Down. If folks want to reach out to you or follow you, etc., what's the best place to go to do that?
I would say Instagram is probably the best spot. It's just at Madeline Down, down like the direction, no plural. And yeah, you can find me there. I'd love to connect with anybody, talk film in particular. And thank you, Cindy. This was such a deep dive. I love it. You even talked about me being a peer coach, which
I
was
mean, hello. They
Cindy
call it
said,
journalism.
in.
I mean, when you say you're a journalist, like that's what you're supposed to, like my job is to do the deep dive, of course. Um, this is what I'd like to say in conclusion to you. I'm excited that I get to cover two of your films now. That doesn't always happen. So repeat business is always exciting for me. But moreover, I oftentimes will see how directors and writers are not appreciated enough. So I always tend to make it a point to say to you and others, not only am I appreciative of the work that you do, but also the fact that you chose to spotlight such a substantially important occupation. And yes, I realize your mom is the catalyst, and I'm thrilled, by the way, that she's okay. But to spotlight such important and special people is a mission, and it's an important one. And you took it on bravely. You did a very, very good job with it. So thank you so much for that contribution to us.
Thank you. That's really sweet.
It's very true, actually, as a matter of fact.